where legends breathe again. Eldmyth. In the stark and unforgiving cold of the ancient north, where the sea mist clings to jagged fjords and the wind carries the salt scent of endless voyages, there echoes a name spoken with a mixture of reverence and grim resolve. Tyr. He is a god of paradox, a figure carved not from unblemished virtue, but from the harsh necessities of a world governed by oaths, steel, and fate. While other pantheons boast of thunder-wielders and all-fathers, the Norse tradition holds space for a deity whose greatest act was one of profound, deliberate sacrifice. We begin our journey not in the golden halls of Asgard, but at the very edge of understanding, in the shadowy realms of myth and memory. Who is this one-handed god? Why does his legacy, though fragmented like a shattered shield, resonate with such formidable power? He is far more than a simple god of war. He is the sacred pillar of cosmic order, the unwavering hand that seals a terrible bargain, and the embodiment of the ultimate price paid for the safety of the worlds. His story is etched in runes and whispered in sagas, a testament to a courage that is not the absence of fear, but the will to act in spite of it. To comprehend Tyr is to delve into the very heart of the Norse worldview, a place where glory and tragedy are two sides of the same well-worn coin, and where honor is not given, but forged in the fires of impossible choices. So, let us travel back through the veils of time, to an age of giants, serpents, and gods, to uncover the layered legend of the one who was called the Brave. To understand Tyr is to first understand the world he governed. His origins stretch back into a time so ancient that he predates the more commonly known Odin and Thor in the archaeological and literary record. Scholars point to his name, Tyr, deriving from the Proto-Indo-European dais, a root shared with Zeus and Jupiter, suggesting he was once the supreme celestial father of the Germanic peoples, a sovereign sky god whose authority was absolute. Over centuries, his role evolved, his supremacy perhaps ceded to the more politically complex Odin, but his fundamental nature remained. He became the god of law, of justice, of the formal and sacred aspects of war, the thing, the assembly, the righteous cause, the unbreakable oath. While Thor was the brute force that defended the walls of Asgard, and Odin the cunning intelligence that guided its destiny, Tyr was the bedrock of its social and cosmic order. He represented the principle that without law there is only chaos, without the keeping of oaths there can be no trust, and without justice even the mightiest kingdom is but a band of marauders. Ancient carvings on runestones and ceremonial artifacts often depict his symbol, the Tiwaz rune, which resembles an upward-pointing arrow, a sign of victory, honor, and masculine power, frequently inscribed on weapons to grant their wielders not just strength, but righteousness in battle. He was the divine witness at all solemn agreements, the invisible hand that held the scales. The interaction between humanity and this formidable god was not one of casual prayer, but of solemn invocation at the most critical junctures of life and death. Before a council of chieftains met to settle a bitter dispute, Tyr's name would be called upon to guide their judgment towards fairness. Warriors, on the eve of a battle they believed to be just, would raise their swords and invoke Tyr, not for blind fury, but for the courage to stand firm in the shield wall and the honor to achieve a victory that would be remembered in song. The most sacred of oaths, those that bound kings to their people, or sealed peace treaties between warring clans, were sworn in Tyr's name, for to break such an oath was to invite not only social ostracization, but the direct and terrible wrath of the god himself. One can imagine the scene: a chieftain, his breath misting in the cold air, standing before his assembled warriors, a spear in his hand. He would raise it to the sky, his voice cutting through the silence. "I swear this upon Tyr, the one-handed, the oath-keeper. May my words be as binding as the chains that hold the Fenris wolf, and may my fate be as his if I prove false." The very air would seem to grow still, charged with the weight of the divine contract being made. This was not a superstition, but a core tenet of a society where a man's word was his bond, and that bond was underwritten by a deity who understood the cost of keeping a promise better than any other. Yet all these facets of law and order pale before the defining myth of Tyr, the story that explains his mutilation and elevates him from an administrator of justice to a tragic hero of cosmic proportions. The source of this calamity was the monstrous wolf, Fenrir, one of the terrible children of Loki. The prophecies foretold that this beast would play a cataclysmic role in Ragnarök, the twilight of the gods. From a pup, Fenrir grew at an alarming rate, his strength and ferocity becoming a palpable threat to all of Asgard. The gods, in their wisdom, or perhaps their fear, decided the creature must be bound. They commissioned the dwarves, master smiths of Svartalfheim, to forge a fetter. The first chain, called Leidingur, was brought before the wolf with a challenge. "Great is your strength, Fenrir," they said, "but we doubt even you can break this." Puffed with pride, the wolf allowed them to bind him, and with a single, effortless kick, he shattered the links. The gods returned to the dwarves, who created a second, infinitely stronger chain, Dromi. Again, the challenge was issued, and again, Fenrir, straining mightily but with growing suspicion, broke the bonds as if they were made of straw. The failure of the second chain sent a wave of dread through the halls of the gods. They knew they had exhausted conventional means. They turned once more to the dwarves, but this time the instructions were for something beyond mere strength. The dwarves, using their profound and cunning craft, created a fetter unlike any other. It was a soft, silken ribbon, seemingly delicate, named Gleipnir. It was crafted from 6 impossible things: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Because it was made of these abstract concepts, it possessed no substance that could be pulled against or broken by physical force. When the gods presented this slender ribbon to Fenrir, the wolf's suspicion turned to outright mistrust. It was too light, too fine. His eyes, intelligent and burning with a primal fire, scanned the faces of the assembled Aesir. He sensed a trick, a deep and profound deception. "I see no fame for myself in breaking such a slender band," he rumbled, his voice like grinding stones. "But if there is magic woven into its threads and this is some trickery, then why should I allow you to bind me?" A tense silence fell over the field. The plan, so cleverly conceived, was on the verge of collapse. The gods needed a guarantee, a pledge of good faith so absolute that even the cynical wolf would be compelled to accept it. It was in this moment of impending failure that Tyr stepped forward. He, the god of oaths and justice, understood the gravity of the situation better than any other. The survival of the cosmic order depended on containing Fenrir. He also knew that to ask for trust, one must first offer it, even at the ultimate personal cost. As the other gods remained silent, Tyr met the wolf's gaze. "We offer you a pledge," Tyr stated, his voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil that must have been raging within him. "To prove this is no trick, I will place my hand in your mouth as you are bound. My flesh is the guarantee of our good faith." The wolf considered this. The word of Tyr was known to be the most sacred in all the 9 worlds. To have that word physically embodied by his own hand was a pledge beyond reproach. Slowly, cautiously, Fenrir agreed. As the god stepped forward and began to loop the deceptively soft Gleipnir around his paws and body, Tyr, without hesitation, placed his right hand, his sword hand, the hand of pledge and action, between the wolf's monstrous jaws. The binding was secured, and immediately Fenrir began to struggle. But the more he thrashed and strained, the tighter the magical ribbon constricted. It was unbreakable. The realization of his eternal entrapment dawned on the wolf, and with it, a betrayal so profound it shook the very ground. In a final, vengeful act of fury, he clenched his jaws. The sound of crushing bone was muffled by the wolf's maw. Tyr did not cry out. He stood, a pillar of resolve, as his hand was severed from his body. The gods, their mission a success, erupted in a mixture of triumph and horrified relief. But for Tyr there was no triumph, only the grim fulfillment of a necessary duty. The wolf was secured, and the prophecy of Ragnarök was, for a time, delayed. But the price was etched forever on Tyr's body and soul. He became the one-handed god, a living, breathing testament to the fact that true justice and the keeping of order often require immense personal sacrifice. His lost hand was not a mark of shame, but a badge of honor, a permanent reminder that his word was so binding he had literally given his flesh to uphold it. From that day forward, the gods knew the depth of Tyr's courage. It was a courage not of blind aggression, but of clear-eyed, premeditated sacrifice. He had weighed the cost, the loss of his own martial prowess, his identity as a warrior, against the salvation of the cosmos, and had found the price acceptable. This act forever separated him from the other gods. He was the one who had paid the ultimate personal price for the security of all. The binding of Fenrir was not the end of Tyr's story, but rather the event that defined his role in the final, inevitable conflict, Ragnarök. The prophecies, recorded in the Völuspá, the Sibyl's vision, are clear and grim. When the time of the great winter arrives and the bonds of kinship dissolve, the monstrous children of Loki will break free. Fenrir's chains will shatter, and the wolf, grown to a size so immense that his jaws scrape the earth and the heavens, will run free with rage and hunger, his eyes burning like coals, his slather dripping like poison. He will join the final march against the gods on the plain of Vigrid, and it is foretold that Tyr, the one-handed god of justice, will have a specific and fated opponent, Garmr, the monstrous hound bound at the entrance to Hel, the realm of the dead. Garmr is often seen as a counterpart to Fenrir, a creature of similar nightmarish stature and ferocity. This is a deeply symbolic pairing. The god who sacrificed his hand to bind one cosmic beast of chaos will now face another in the ultimate battle. It is a confrontation of order against primordial chaos, of the keeper of oaths against the embodiment of dissolution. The battle between Tyr and Garmr is not described in lavish detail in the surviving texts, but its outcome is stated with stark, tragic finality. The Poetic Edda simply says that Tyr will fall, and Garmr will be slain. It is a mutual kill. The god of law and the hound of chaos destroy one another. Consider the profound symbolism of this end. Tyr, who embodied the very principles that held the cosmos together, oaths, justice, sacrificial order, meets his end not at the hands of the more famous Fenrir or the world serpent Jormungandr, but by a beast guarding the gate of death. It signifies that in the final conflagration, the structures of law and society are among the first to fall, consumed by the rampant chaos they were designed to hold back. Tyr's death is the death of the thing, the assembly, the sworn oath. It is the moment the last contract is voided, the last judgment is passed. Yet, in his final act, he does not fail. He manages to strike down the agent of this dissolution, ensuring that chaos does not win an uncontested victory. His end is not one of defeat, but of a balance paid in blood, a final, terrible sacrifice to ensure that even in the world's ending, there is a measure of justice. The legacy of Tyr extends far beyond the smoky battlefields of Ragnarök and the pages of ancient poetry. His name is indelibly stamped upon our modern world, most prominently in the day Tuesday, from the Old English Tiwasdig, or Tyr's Day. Every week, we unconsciously speak the name of this one-handed god, a faint echo of his once supreme authority. In the realm of literature and art, he has been a figure of fascination for centuries. Romantic painters of the 19th century, enthralled by Norse myth, often depicted him as a noble, tragic hero, his mutilation a symbol of stoic virtue. In the 20th and 21st centuries, his character has found new life in fantasy novels, comic books, and video games, where he is frequently portrayed as the stern, honorable, and often disillusioned god of justice, a voice of reason in a pantheon of flawed and chaotic deities. His symbol, the Tiwaz rune, is still used today in various neo-pagan and heathen practices, representing justice, honor, and self-sacrifice. He resonates in our modern consciousness because his core myth, the story of a conscious, willing sacrifice for a greater good, is a timeless and powerful archetype. In a world that often feels chaotic and unjust, the figure of Tyr stands as a stark reminder of the cost of order and the profound courage required to uphold one's principles, even unto death. As our journey into the myth of Tyr draws to a close, we are left not with a simple conclusion, but with a lingering reflection on the nature of courage and cost. Tyr is not the most powerful of the Norse gods, nor the most famous, but he is perhaps the most morally complex. He represents a virtue that is quiet, resolute, and devastatingly practical. His story asks a difficult question of us. What principle is so important that you would willingly give a part of yourself to protect it? For Tyr, the answer was cosmic order, the sanctity of an oath, and the safety of the worlds he called home. He did not lose his hand in the heat of battle by accident. He offered it knowingly as the price for a future. His subsequent death at Ragnarök is not a failure, but the completion of his arc, the god of justice ensuring that chaos pays a price for its victory. He is a reminder that true heroism is not about glory, but about responsibility. So the next time you hear the name Tuesday or see an arrow pointing defiantly upward, remember the one-handed God. Remember the price he paid, the oath he kept, and the quiet, unwavering courage that echoes from the ancient north, across the sea of time, into our own world, challenging us to consider what we ourselves would be willing to sacrifice. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.